Hello and welcome to the Talking NorCal podcast, the official podcast of Active NorCal. I am your host, Zach O'Brien, and shoot, I forgot to think of a nickname. We got Bobby here.
Bobby D.
Uncle Bob.
Bobby Badass. Uncle Bob.
Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob is in the house. How you doing, Bob?
Doing well. Shout out to the little one who just had a second birthday. Yep. Uncle Bob got him a box of Pro V1s for his birthday.
Yeah. He likes balls.
Golf balls specifically.
Yeah. Well, he'll play with any ball. But yes. Welcome back to the Talking NorCal podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Active NorCal magazine. Our listeners can get a discount on a subscription to the Active NorCal magazine. In the checkout, just use the code Talking NorCal to get $10 off a $30 annual subscription to the magazine.
This is some exclusive content. We put a lot of thought and energy into these magazines, and these articles do not go on the website. This is exclusive content that you can find only in the magazine. $30 a year gets you both the issues of the magazine. We have a new issue coming out here in the next couple of months that you definitely want to get your hands on. So definitely subscribe to the magazine. There's a lot of other perks in being a subscriber as well.
Yeah, the giveaways. We do a ton of giveaways. We'll talk about our upcoming giveaway here shortly. But we've been doing great giveaways. We actually, we're going to share it soon. A girl just sent me all her videos from a fishing trip we raffled off. We've raffled off a ton of different trips. So yeah, if you get a subscription, by the way, use the code Talking NorCal to get $10 off your subscription. So for $20 a year, you can enter all of our giveaways for free. You just have to pay attention to our socials, and do all the stuff we ask in the giveaways. But you do need a subscription to the magazine to win these prizes.
Each week we're giving away at least $350 worth of items from the different partnerships that we have. And we have a humongous one coming up that's worth several thousand dollars.
Last week, like a $3,000 giveaway.
This is a good time to subscribe to the pod. We got if you subscribe now, we'll send you the last issue, and then you'll get the new one coming out in the next month and a half or so. So this is the best time to sign up. Again, promo code Talking NorCal.
Talking NorCal. Yes. So today we have a great episode. We are talking. Finally, we've got him on the podcast. He is a great person, a great photographer in Northern California. Jake Edwards. You may know him by @SceneScapery on social media. He's super popular on Instagram, super popular on Facebook, and we have been, we talked about this outside of the interview. We have been following each other and growing with each other for the past 10 years. When we first started Active NorCal, he was just getting into photography, and we've sort of grown together, and we share a lot of his content. In fact, he was our photographer in our photographer spotlight in our issue number 14 or 13. Issue number 13. Wow, these issues are going by fast. Jake Edwards, SceneScapery. He's a fantastic photographer. We talk about all things, including this incredible Northern Lights year, his battle with cancer, how that has helped his photography, and also what he's got on the horizon. So super excited to bring you that interview from Jake. First, let's just, we have to talk about this because we didn't mention it. We didn't put it in our script. The Northern Lights returned to Northern California last week. That was amazing.
Yeah, I wasn't able to see him personally. I didn't have a angle from where I lived, and I didn't have the ability to go drive and go seek out a view. But it's just so cool that this year we've seen so much activity from the Northern Lights.
It was last Thursday. We've talked about this. 2024 is the year of the Northern Lights. There's all this. It's the peak of the sun storms, and the solar flares, and the geomagnetic energy. It's the 11-year peak in the cycle. So this year's been incredible. We had an amazing display in May. We had an amazing display in August. And then last Thursday, which was the 10th? October 10th, I believe. Yeah. October 10th. We get this alert. A huge storm is happening on the sun, and everyone needs to get out. So we put it on our social pages, and I'm so glad we did. And look, we've gotten some of these these warnings that we've put out, and it just hasn't come to fruition like we thought it might. But every once in a while, they do. And the amount of photos that people submitted to us was insane. It was seen all the way down in Southern California. It was seen in Yosemite. Some of the best views, I think, came over Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe, a lot of people went out and took photography there. We got photos in Chico. We got insane photos out of Mount Shasta. We got awesome photos from over Lassen. So it was just, super bright, green, pink. It was unbelievable.
We love getting all of those photos from you guys. So keep sending them. Send them to Active NorCal. Send them to Talking NorCal. Whatever you'd like. We appreciate it. We love all of those photos, and we will do everything to promote you as a photographer if you send them to us. So shout out all those that have, and any that do in the future. We look forward to looking at them.
And let this be a lesson. Look, we don't always get these right. We don't always get these forecasts right. It's so hard to forecast these, and we don't know exactly where, just because there's this big geomagnetic storm doesn't mean we know exactly where they're going to show up the best, right? So we give it out to our audience and give you the opportunity to go out and try to see them. Obviously, the best way is to go to, away from city lights, super dark, high elevation's usually good. So again, places like Mount Shasta, Lassen, Tahoe, if it gets that far south, to go see them. And obviously a long time lapse is usually the best way to see them on camera, but you can see, like, your iPhone has the ability to take great photos of these. So this is it. Look, I am predicting we're going to have one more this year. One more good one. This is our third. Again, this is the peak of the cycle. It's either last week's or it was May, that was the best I've ever seen in Northern California. And of course, it's the best we've ever seen because we didn't have photography equipment 11 years ago that really brought out the colors. So my predictions, we're going to have one more night like this. I'm crossing my fingers, but it's really just a huge, huge deal in Northern California.
Totally agree. I do think the camera equipment being better is a reason, but also the more people see the photographs, the more they want to photograph themselves. So every time these come out, the more photographers are like, I got to get my shots. So you may have one last time here, ladies and gentlemen. So look forward to it. Now, it's a big opening. I just thought maybe it's a time to send it to the Tahoes, hella NorCal.
Let's go to the Tahoes, hella NorCal.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and Darren knows how to do kick it down in Santa Cruz. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little cray-cray when we visit the East Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal.
Okay, we're going to get into the news of the week, but first we got to talk about our giveaway coming up. Bob, do you have a preview of what we're giving away to the subscribers of the Active NorCal magazine?
So we're working with Shasta Gravity. If you guys aren't familiar, it's a mountain bike company, and we're really excited to work with them. We are offering a guided mountain bike tour for 3 people. It's a $350 value. And again, to qualify, you need to be a subscriber of the magazine. So subscribe. If you subscribe right now, we'll send you the most recent issue, and then you'll get the next issue in about a month and a half. And oh, by the way, you qualify for this fantastic giveaway. So again, Shasta Gravity, a guided mountain bike ride for 3 people, valued around $350. We're really excited about it.
Yeah, and they do a lot of the just the Mount Shasta area in general. There's a lot of great trails up there, so they're really good. I don't know exactly what goes into this package, but typically like they have shuttles that will take you up to the trailhead so you can ride down. That was one thing I never liked about mountain biking was actually getting to the top. Like I'm a snowboarder, like I like it when the lift takes me to the top and I ride down. So like a shuttle with a mountain bike is fantastic. So I'm not exactly sure what's included in this tour, but I'm sure they'll make it the best possible value and adventure for you. So yeah, again, you have to be subscribed to the Act NorCal magazine and keep paying attention to our socials. We're announcing it. I guess we'll announce it the same day this podcast drops. So check it as soon as you hear this podcast.
Thank you, and shout out Shasta Gravity.
Shasta Gravity, thank you very much. All right, let's get into the news of the week.
All right, first NorCal note of the week. Oh man, I'm the one that has to read it now too, huh? The rare comet Tsuchinshan-ATLAS. Did I say that right?
Tsuchinshan.
Tsuchinshan. Rare comet Tsuchinshan-ATLAS, now visible over Northern California. Pretty exciting stuff.
Tsuchinshan-ATLAS.
Tsuchinshan.
There's like a little T at the front. It's mostly an S sound, but it's Tsuchinshan. I don't know who named it, but yes, this is a comet that comes around every 80,000 years. And what's super cool about this comet is it's really supposed to stay in the sky, the night sky, of course, until October 24th. So as we're recording this, that's about a week. And so it's traveling approximately 18 trillion miles away, a distance about 3 light years. And it's really cool. It's got this like really long tail, if you've seen photos of it. So it can be very visible in the sky. So here's how to see it. Again, between now and October 24th, it's peaking in the northern hemisphere right now. So when the sun goes down, you want to look southwest, basically look where the sun is setting. And as soon as it sets, it should be visible. Again, as we're writing this, or as we're, saying this, it's fading a little bit over time. So the sooner you do it, the better. So, you can see it from the naked eye, especially in darker areas away from city lights. Using a telescope or binoculars or telephoto lens is going to make it much easier to see. Of course, any photo equipment is going to help you. But again, just go to where the sun set, southeast or southwest-ish, and you should see it. And unless you plan on living for another 80,000 years, it's your only time to see it.
Yeah, I love celestial things like this. I think the universe, solar system, galaxy, everything past it is very, very exciting stuff for me. I just like seeing it. So the fact that next time we'll see it is 80,000 years from now is pretty cool. It's also just a beautiful thing to look at, a burning star, 18 trillion miles away, which is the distance of about 3 light years. Pretty cool. And it wasn't found like they just discovered it last year, which according to the article on activenorcal.com. So I love stories like this. I guess it's like we talked about the Northern Lights and this comet. It's kind of celestial things right in this week.
It's been such a crazy year. And I suppose it's just because the Northern Lights really adds to it. But, we had the night of the Perseid meteor showers that also had the Northern Lights back in August. We've had, a couple different celestial situations that have been fantastic. And I think what's good about like something like this or the Northern Lights is anyone can go and see it and get a photo with your phone, or if you even have a basic like DSLR camera, you can get good shots of this. So we literally, our entire feed was the Northern Lights over the weekend. And now this next week, I think our entire feed is going to be this comet because everyone keeps tagging us in all their photos.
It'd be a great time to be in an astronomy class.
Yeah.
Right. Like with the telescopes and having your teacher actually tell you how cool this is, and maybe having night class just so you could come in and actually get a glimpse of it under telescope. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. I think, again, we're we're taping this with about a week left. I think photos are going to start coming out of crazy views of this thing. So we're really lucky to have this. You have a week, October 24th, to watch it. So don't miss it.
And remember, send all photographs to Active NorCal, DM, email, whatever you got. Probably DM's the highest quality, but we're counting on you guys for these photos so we can share with the world. So awesome story. Okay, next story. Now, before we took the hiatus on the podcast, I would say the most dominant story we would talk about regularly was the drought, honestly.
Mhm.
Every story kind of alluded to the drought. There was always kind of a backbone of the drought and the lack that, we don't have that anymore, which is great news, honestly. I think I do take big credit for creating all of those songs, which are still on this podcast
Yes.
machine. If you haven't heard them, go back.
Yes.
But nowadays it's kind of leaning, the astronomy of the world, but also wolves. Our next story involves wolves. Wolf sightings near Lake Tahoe bring speculation on California's newest wolf pack.
Yeah, so if anyone's familiar with Hope Valley, it's about 20 miles south of Lake Tahoe. It's it's very photographed in the fall, especially. It produces extremely beautiful autumn leaves, and it's just a beautiful place. So they have had numerous wolf sightings out there, and this is on top of the count of, we just reported it a couple weeks ago, 65 wolves, which is essentially double in 2024 the amount of wolves in California. So
These wolves are not ones that we thought were there. So this
Exactly.
number is higher. If they are together, that's another wolf pack, which is crazy. And the Tahoe area, it's not, they haven't seen wolves in a long time.
yeah, I not many wolves have made it that far south. A couple wolf packs are further south than that, but so there are 7 confirmed wolf packs in the state. If this is a wolf pack, and we don't know what the sightings are, if there's sightings of multiple, the CDFW, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, has not told us the exact extent of the sightings. They're currently monitoring the area. They're tracking paw prints. They're installing cameras, all that stuff, which they're pretty darn good at. And
Yeah.
my guess is we're going to find out pretty soon.
The fact that we don't have any pictures yet is kind of astounding.
Yes. But this would be the 8th wolf pack right near Tahoe. And yeah, this is just another, I feel like these news stories are going to keep coming and coming out. There's been, more than 100 pups born across the state since 2015. Like I said, we know we have 65 wolves in the state right now. So, it's just crazy. We're going to keep getting them in all these different areas, I feel like. And I do have to say, we've talked about it in the past, but this does create issues for livestock, for ranchers who have concerns for their livestock. CDFW is reaching out to the ranchers in that specific area to address their issues, to set up safeguards to protect their cattle and their livestock from these wolves. And I also it's obligatory to say wolf human encounters are rare. Wolves do not attack people, period. End of story. I don't care what you say in the comment section. It's so very rare that this is not an issue for humans. There are a lot of ecological benefits to wolves and to wolf packs. So to us, I think you echo this. It's great news, and it's pretty cool that we could get the 8th wolf pack here shortly.
Yes, I agree. More the merrier, but there's going to be a limit to this. If we've already doubled in population
fair.
one year and now there's more than double, there's going to be a limit of where that is comfortable to humans. And so,
Fair enough.
You've mentioned before, they really don't have a lot to worry about. You don't find bears hunting wolves or mountain lions hunting wolves. They don't have a lot of predators that are going after them. So the majority of time that they are dying is usually probably starvation, which they're probably not. There's ample food because of there's so few wolves, and disease, which I don't know. We haven't talked about finding disease, death, wolves. So it's starting to get a little. I'm starting to get a little nervous with the growth rate of this population. We're still safe, I'd say, right now, but if we're going to keep more than doubling the population every year, maybe we have to start looking at ways of slowing down that rapid growth.
I don't have the number in front of me, but the California Department of Fish and Wildlife believes the number that California can safely hold of wolves is in the hundreds. Like, I think the number is 300.
Yeah, and we're like
a third of the way.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong. It could be thousands. Now, there used to be thousands of wolves.
Totally.
Now, but that wasn't a developed state. That wasn't, there weren't cities. There weren't, millions and millions of people. So we do have to find a way to cohabitate. So you're right. I don't know where the boiling point is. I don't know where there's too many wolves.
Well, and then what's the regulation to slow the growth down? Do you allow humans to hunt wolves?
Well, they're already doing that in Oregon.
They are not in California, though.
Not in California. Yeah. No, it is very, very illegal.
That's what I'm saying. But at some point, they're going to have to slow down the rapid growth because, again, there's no predators.
I mean, I don't know when the last time we talked about the Shasta Pack on this podcast. It was literally the first wolf pack back in California after wolves came back. They were in Siskiyou County. They were eating livestock, and bam, they went missing. Now, most people think that they were killed, that ranchers or whoever took it upon themselves, killed those wolves, buried them. They would do legit jail time if they were to find out have done that. So yeah, it's extremely illegal to hunt wolves. They are letting people hunt wolves in Oregon.
We are a pro wolf podcast, but I can just in the future. I mean, the fact that we're talking about this every single podcast, I can just see there being growing worry, and there's going to have to be different regulations in the coming years. And stay tuned to activenorcal.com for all the updates there.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else to say about the?
Nope. Great. I'm good.
Next news, NorCal news of the week. Yosemite National Park lifts reservation requirement for the rest of 2024. I'm assuming they did this just because it was a little slower than they had imagined. So they opened it back up a little earlier.
Yeah, I mean, they basically said based on, our visitor use and impacts, we're ending our reservation system early. And look, they were the reservation system was set up through October. And they basically said, look, guys, we're good. Come on in. You don't need a reservation. The reservations at Yosemite National Park have become a bit of a moving target because they are testing out all these new ways to limit the crowds, right? So this started in COVID. In COVID, they saw extreme levels of visitation. They saw parking issues. They saw all sorts of issues, obviously, with overcrowding. So they set up this reservation system, and they've done different iterations. But essentially, weekends and holidays, you need a reservation. And they've moved this a couple times. It's basically between 5 a.m. and 4 p.m. So you can actually go in without a reservation beforehand. Like at 4 a.m, you can go in and you don't need a reservation. And vice versa, you can go at 6 p.m. Also, if you have like a campsite, you don't need a reservation. Or if you have,
but that you need a campsite.
You need a reservation for campsite, but you don't have to double book a reservation.
Right. Yeah.
So they're testing this, and they think that some sort of reservation will be the norm moving forward in busy seasons. So spring, summer, early fallish, and then when the firefall comes to Yosemite. Those are the times that they're going to set up these reservation systems to limit the amount of people. Also, they have Half Dome permits, which is on a lottery system because Half Dome just got too crowded. It's already a dangerous hike as it is.
Very dangerous hike.
So they're doing all these different, they're trying out all these different ways to limit overcrowding and overvisitation. But this is good. I think it's good for them to plan for too many visitors.
Yeah.
And then when they see that it's not so bad, hey guys, come on in.
They're dialing their numbers in. They're dialing their
Yeah.
process in. This is a work in progress. It is an incredibly, incredibly highly traveled destination in Northern California, and we're so proud to have it. Like, it's one of literally my favorite places in the entire world, Yosemite National Park. Literally the most gorgeous. I mean, there's a beautiful like poster behind the camera over here that I'm looking at. It's just gorgeous. Love it. It's my favorite place to camp, my favorite place to travel. So they'll get it figured out, and so I'm not too worried. But it's nice that they've opened things up a little earlier, 2 weeks earlier than they had planned.
It's a top 10 visited national park in the country. In 2019, there were over 4.5 million visitors in the park. Um, yeah, so that's good. And by the way, they said, anyone that had reservations over the last 2 weeks of October, they'll just automatically refund you. So kudos to them. I know dealing with this type of stuff cannot be easy, especially when, I mean, people just want to go where they want to go when they want to go.
And people don't like change.
People don't like change. People don't like being limited, especially, our taxes go to those national parks. So,
a lot of tax dollars.
So they're sort of double dipping on that, which is a whole different story. But anyway, I think they're doing a good job.
I do too. Shout out Yosemite. Okay, let's get to the last NorCal note of the week. We just talked about the early opening of reservations. Now let's talk about a not so open reservation. Popular Tahoe ski resort announces it will not open this winter.
Homewood Mountain. We've talked about them a bunch.
I've never been there.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. They have runs that like look right down on the lake. It's beautiful. It's a little bit longer to get to, like if you're coming from South Lake or North Lake. So it's more of like a locals mountain for sure. But they have great terrain. They have some of the best views in Tahoe. We wrote about them in issue number 13 of the Active NorCal magazine. So basically, they have been operating under a financial loss for several years. And they released this master plan to create sort of a hybrid public-private ski resort, meaning the people who live on the mountain within an HOA get season passes to it, and then they limit the number of season passes otherwise. So it's like a public-private, kind of like a country club,
like
almost.
a golf country club, yeah.
Yeah, which has been met with a ton of people pissed off, right? Now, because of this backlash, they lost one of their funders for the season. It's been slow to finalize the plan with the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, and so they just said, "Sorry, guys, we can't operate at a loss for another year. We have to figure out a way to move forward. That's not the way we're currently moving forward, which means we will not be open in 2024, 2025, which, might light a fire under some people's asses and say, look, okay, we want to keep this mountain all together, so we'll stop. It's this Keep Homewood Public group who's trying to make sure that they don't, go to this private exclusionary model, which I understand. But also, they are not, it's not Heavenly where they're sitting in the middle of South Lake Tahoe, which everyone goes to. It's not North Star. They're more off the beaten path. And so I get that they don't get the type of public people that pay the bills.
Yeah. Again, I've never been there, but I definitely don't wish any closures of any businesses or any ski resorts in any area in Northern California. So hopefully they can get things figured out and maybe open next.
A lot of people think they're doing this under the ruse of, because there was so much backlash for them trying to go private, that they're using this to force a private mountain, which people don't like. Look, it is what it is. Economics are what they are. Business is what it is. A business should be allowed to run as a business. They don't get any public funding like a lot of different ski resorts do, so they can operate however they want. I know it's hard for some people to swallow that bit of information, but in my estimation, they should be allowed to operate their business how they want.
Agreed. Best of luck to them. And that wraps up the NorCal Notes of the Week.
Okay, that wraps up the NorCal Notes of the Week. Let's get to our interview with the one and only Jake Edwards, otherwise known as Scenescapery. Okay, we'd now like to welcome on a very, very special guest. If you've been following Active NorCal for the last decade, you know exactly who he is. Online, he goes by Scenescapery, but he is photographer Jake Edwards. Jake, thanks for joining us today.
Yes, hello, Zach. Good to finally do this.
I know we have come across each other in many different ways. We've been sharing your photography for a very long time, but you and I have
Uh,
never actually sat down and chat. So this is amazing. We're huge fans of you over here. We love your photography.
pre-
But I do want to start with a recent occurrence in 2024, which this year has been the year of the Northern Lights.
yes,
And
wild, yeah.
uh, your photography has absolutely blown me away. It's some of the best out there in the Northern California region. So, what's this year been like hunting the Northern Lights for you?
Um, yeah, so really it was like really quickly learning how to distinguish, when they might pop off or anything. I just used the Aurora app and it's seeing what the predictions with KP and then, obviously trying to find out if BZ is going to be negative so you can actually see it. Um, and it's been a wild goose chase, honestly. I mean, I'm checking that thing every day just because there's times when it didn't seem like it was going to pop off. And then sure enough, I went out there and I got a glimpse of it for half an hour. So, I mean, I've been out there so many nights and there's been probably just as many that I failed because of it. But that's the thing, it's a risk and reward.
Yeah, it's so funny because we follow all the apps and all the forecasts and we'll tell our audience and then it doesn't happen and everyone's like you're a liar, you're making this up and it sort of is a wild goose chase in that sense. And in a lot of ways it's just hard to see it with the naked eye sometimes. But
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're using a lot of specialized systems in your camera to make sure you capture it correctly, right?
Yeah, I mean, long exposures just, let so much more light in than what your eyes can see. So that right there, when you take a picture and then you see it come up on the screen afterwards, you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could see this bright. But I'm glad that we have the technology now to actually capture that so we can see what we're, kind of looking at faintly.
Yeah, and so we had the big one in May. We had the other big one happen just the other night, and
Yeah.
of course some small ones happened here and there. But do you think it's over? Are you still keeping your ear to the ground to see if it pops off one more time this year?
Yeah, so I'm really hoping that we can get like a fresh blanket of snow and get those auroras popping with that. That it's a goal of mine. I don't know if you can call it goal because it's like not something you can plan, but if that happens, I'll be stoked. I'll probably be
Yeah,
wanting to be in like five different places at once capturing it now, but I gotta pick one.
yeah. And have you been sleeping much this year or what? Because you're seemingly out there all the time getting those night shots.
Yeah, so after all the treatments I've been through, it's been really bad insomnia. So I've kind of used that to my advantage to, be productive in astrophotography. So, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. Well, since you mentioned it, we might as well talk about it. Your stints with cancer, your recent stints with cancer. You
Yeah.
are now a three-time cancer survivor, right?
Uh, four times, technically five.
Ugh.
Yeah. So
So, congratulations, and we're so happy that you're doing better. But
thank you.
I know this has been going on for years now. Kind of tell me about the story and what's your life been like? Obviously, it's you're still having negative impacts from it.
Yeah. So it kind of all started about six and a half, a little over 6.5 years ago. My daughter was actually born and she was born 1 pound. And so she was in the NICU in Sacramento for 99 days. And then I think all the stress of that, because she almost died a couple times in there, and all that stress has kind of wore my system down. And a couple weeks after we brought her home, I found a lump in my neck, and then it took about 6 months to get it actually diagnosed. And then I found out a couple days before Christmas in 2018 that, yeah, it was cancer. So the next year, I started going through all that and then went into remission for about a year and a half, 2 years. And then bam, got a secondary cancer. And then that came back 3 times. So it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Again, I just can't imagine what it's like going through that. What is there anything you've sort of learned or anything you've sort of taken with you into your life now from that experience?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So it gives you a whole different perspective on life and how fragile it really is, and also how beautiful it really is. So I mean, honestly, like photography has gotten me through. It's kept me sane the whole time. But if it wasn't for my daughter, I don't know how much fight I would have had, what I did have. So um, but with that being said, uh, I really took my frustration and, anger with everything, and I put it into, creating my craft with photography better. And I mean, I feel like it really shows. Because, I've been planning things out and I've been really just trying to give 110% all the time. And, with that being said as well, uh, for every shot that I post, I've probably taken 100 that I don't post, so it's like I'm always experimenting and figuring out what I want to do. And then there's also some where I'll take some pictures and then I'll be like, oh, this is really cool. And then the next day I'll take more and I'm like, okay, these are better. So I'll post the new ones and then I just get backlogged, So I have so many pictures I haven't even shared that I probably should. But, it's a constant battle because especially
Yeah.
with these auroras going on, I mean, the auroras, they're such a cool thing that everything else kind of gets put to the side. So I'll catch up on that later. But
That's so interesting, that your negative experiences in life have helped you sort of become a better photographer because just watching your photography over the last 6 years, it continued to get better and better and better.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
so so now, like with us, we have a lot of people sending us photography and sometimes, there's some people that really do well and stick around and continue the photography, but a lot of people sort of give up after a while. It's a difficult thing to pursue every single day. And so would you say like your battles have sort of kept you motivated in that sense?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm the type of person where I'm like obsessive over it. If I like miss a good sunrise, I mean, that is like a punch to the gut, you know, and I'm like seeing my friends post about it or, locally or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, I need to do better. So then I think last winter, we had January to like mid-February, almost every day was an amazing sunrise. And so I was out there every single day. I was like, I can't miss it. I can't miss it. And that's where using my insomnia came into play, because I'm like, okay, I'm not sleeping anyway. I might as well get up and just brave the cold, whatever, bring some tea with me, coffee, whatever. So,
That's awesome. How did you initially get into photography?
so I grew up here, went to high school at
Lake
Chester.
for anyone who doesn't know, Lake Almanor is where you live, and it's where most of your photography takes place is around the Lake Almanor Lassen area.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, I went to Chester High and, graduated, moved to Chico, went to school. And then I ended up having a job opportunity up here. So I came back. And of course, none of my friends are around anymore. So I had like an iPhone 4 or 5, and I had a life proof case, and I was trying to take like underwater pictures, just bored after work. And I started really getting into iPhone photography. So then my dad had a camera. He let me use that, and it took about 2 days for me to go out and buy one. And then I was, off and running from there. And I've probably had 7 or 8 cameras since then, just upgrading, finding what works for me. And now I think I'm at a really good point with my setup. So
Yeah, and when it comes to photography, is more of the work being done with actually setting up and waiting to get the shot, or is it done on the back end, making sure your pictures are good on your computer and that sort of thing?
Um, so I do a lot of planning, like in photo pills. So, once I found out about that, it was a game changer because then I could, post to any location, go to any date and see where the sun's going to be rising or where the Milky Way is going to be rising or whatever. So that's what the planning starts out like. And then I kind of envision it in my head what it's going to look like. And I go out and try to capture exactly that. And so, it's about when you're out in the field too, it's about making sure that you're in focus when you're taking the pictures because I've definitely come back and I'm like, oh man, none of these are in focus. Dang it. You know. So there's a whole process behind it. And then you typically, you take a few hundred shots when you're out. And I don't like storing so much data and having like, 20 pictures of the same shot. So I just go through on my camera and I lock the ones that I want on there and I delete them right off the camera and save the good ones, and then I'll download those. That way I'm not just racking up information and with data and stuff. And then yeah, and then I go through, trying to edit things how I saw them, you know, because camera never really captures exactly what you saw. So it's about bringing the pictures to life a little bit.
Right. I think a lot of people lose that fact when they you get a lot of people in the comment section like, oh, this is photoshopped and but like you said, you're not, when you're on the back end, when you're editing, it's more bringing the photo to life as it is naturally, and showing the world what you saw, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
uh So you're in Lake Almanor, and I think I know the answer to this question based on your photography. But just for everyone, where are your favorite places to shoot around there?
Well, obviously Lassen Park, which we all know and love. Being a photographer for them is pretty cool. Um, I've done assignments here and there for them, and it's led me to, getting bear cubs, which has been on the top of my list for years. And I finally had that experience this year, and it was amazing. And of course, they decided to maul a fawn, in front of me. But I and I didn't get a good vantage point of that because it's kind of a sketchy. They were up on this little hillside, in between this grove of trees doing it. And this is over by Helen Lake. So by the
Mhm.
Bumpus Hill trailhead. And or sorry, not was it Bumpus Hill? No, yeah, that's Bumpus Hill,
Kings
right?
Kings Kings Creek, yeah, the Meadows area, yeah.
So yeah, so around there. I don't know why my brain's having a brain fart, but yeah, so it was just too sketchy for me to try to, get myself in between the mama and cubs up on a hillside to get a good vantage point. But man, it was pretty brutal listening to it. Whew. But it's nature that it has to run its
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
But
Are there other places around? Because I see you at all these different lakes in the Sierra. Are there other places that you like to photograph at?
yeah, so I mean, my special place, where I've done a lot of, thinking and getting through stuff, and then also, photographing like crazy is Crystal Lake.
Mhm.
And that's the one that, you guys did the spread in the magazine. And
I think I
I,
have it right here, just in case people haven't seen it. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Yeah, this guy right here.
oh
Yeah.
man, that was amazing. That was the last day that you could get up there. I mean, it was a fresh snow and then it starts snowing and pounding in that day. So yeah, I was lucky to get up there and I barely made it too. But yeah, so and that's where I got this last Aurora, show from as well. So I was like, I knew that I wanted to go up to Lassen, and I saw that you guys had shared Matt's post, and
Hmm.
with the Aurora's just streaking over Lassen, I was like, man, that would be a bucket list shot for for my catalog. But I was like, after that picture blew up, I was like, no, there's going to be a ton of people up there. I don't know about like light pollution with people driving around, and then something just drew me to Crystal Lake anyway because that's, my place. So I went up there and there was a couple other people up there. There was one other guy for, photographing it, and then a couple people watching, and it was just a really nice and calm experience up there. So
That's
that
funny
was,
that you were trying to zag when everyone's zigging. You're trying to not necessarily get that because I saw probably 100 photos from Heart Lake and Mount Shasta, right? And I could only
yeah.
imagine what that rock line right there at Heart Lake was looking like with everyone sitting there.
Yeah. And so one thing with me too is, you know, I like going out and taking pictures with other people, but at the same time, like I like having a unique perspective on things. So um it challenges my creativity when I'm like around a lot of other people because I don't just can't really get in that mindset. So when I'm out by myself, I'm like obsessive over it and I just do the best as I can, and I always try to find as many angles as possible within a situation, because I don't want to just do like take the same picture of the same thing, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of a sunset. I want to experiment. And so, you know, being alone has given me that opportunity for creativity.
That's awesome.
And but at the same time, I will say I do like going out and shooting with friends. It's cool, getting excited about shots together and stuff. So it's like it trying to create a healthy balance there.
Yeah,
Because
I think being around people helps your creativity, right? You can help sort
yeah,
of talk about things a little bit. I think
yeah,
all creative people have that problem of sort of isolating a little too much, right? Where
yeah.
being able to collaborate a little bit more is helpful.
It is, yeah. And I mean, no matter if somebody's a beginner or, just the most experienced, photographer, you can learn something from everyone because everyone has different experiences to go off of. So
Right.
that's the cool thing about it. And then, it's a matter of trying to understand that, but also not copy them, you know, because
Right.
that's another thing. I mean, I don't want to rip people off of what they're doing, but it's cool to like learn and implement things into your own style as well.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I think a lot of people, probably more like our Bay Area audience or maybe our Humboldt audience, doesn't know much about Lake Almanor. What's like your elevator pitch for Lake Almanor? I know it really well. I know the Chester area really well, but what's so great about living in that area?
Well, we call it like Little Tahoe. So, it's basically you get the views without all the people. And, I'm sure some people are going to be mad at me for saying this, some locals, but, it's like we're torn between, needing people to come here because our, community thrives on, the vacation aspect of it, but also not wanting it to be overrun by people. So, um, and the community is starting to make waves with, different things they're doing to bring more people, more attractions here. But at the same time, we're okay if it goes slow.
Right.
Because, yeah, I mean, we have the parade in 4th of July, and that just gets wild. I mean, there's tens of thousands of people here, and it's to the point where like I don't even drive around the lake on 4th of July. I just go get the fireworks shot that I want, and luckily I have, I'm on the east side of the lake, so I can just sneak around the east shore and go get my shot and then go home, and it's really painless. But you go around through Chester, West Shore, forget it.
Yeah, that's a really I've never thought of it that way. It's like Tahoe without the crowds and everyone calls Lassen like Yosemite without the crowds, right? So
Yeah.
there's sort of them being right next to each other. I don't know if people know that just that general area is just so incredible, and there's so much you can do, and there's all the little communities around the lake that are just there's great people all around there, and great little shops and restaurants, and I
Yeah.
love it there.
Yeah, we got a lot of great great places to eat in the last couple of years too. I mean, it's really elevated. So thankful for that, because it's like you're stuck with, going to the couple spots and it gets a little bit monotonous, So now there's all kinds of variety and, I had a friend the other day, who shoots around the area too. He's like, "Hey man, where do I go?" And I recommended him, "Oh, here's a couple of great spots, pick and choose what you want." So it's nice to have that option as well, So I think that comes with the community trying to be a little bit more elevated, which I'm happy about because, good food is something that everyone can enjoy.
Right, right. What's the restaurant that with the sign that says if Lassen starts
Yeah.
erupting, food is free?
Pine Shack.
Pine Shack, that's right. Yeah, I think
Yep.
that's the funnest sign. Yeah, I love that. Um,
I always I always said, if Lassen erupts, I'm going to get my milkshake and I'm going up to Lassen.
yeah.
I'm getting that shot.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, those just those old Loomis shots of Lassen Peak
Mhm.
erupting are so cool. I mean, talk about a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, that's wild. And just imagine what it would be like now too. If,
Yeah.
with everybody taking pictures with everything, we would get some wild stuff out of that. But I also don't want to imagine that yet.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's when we're old and like in our 80s and like, it's
Right.
okay, now it's time. Now it's time for Lassen to erupt.
Right.
Um so what's next for you in photography? Like, do you have like a bucket list of things you want to shoot or anything like that?
um, Obviously there's tons of stuff and you know, I want to travel abroad, but also I'm like, there's tons of stuff, options here to see in the US, that is absolutely incredible. Tetons, that's top of my list, and I also love to go up to Alaska and, see auroras up that way. And then also, all the wildlife. But I think the very top of my list would be Finland.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's where my grandma was from. So I have, I think I still have distant family over there. And I've done so much YouTube deep diving on all the photography blinds there and all the, the wolves and bears and all kinds of crazy stuff they see. And I'm like, that's what I would want to do. Just go spend a week in a blind and chill out and, check things out. So I know I don't post a lot of wildlife, but I do get super excited, and that's probably what I get the most rush from is wildlife because it's so rare to see things, But um, I don't know. I have tons of things. I also want to go to Mammoth, down that way, and I have family now that lives an hour outside of Bishop, so I'm like, I just need to go. I have a place to stay there, but it's just a matter of actually making it happen and not getting sick because I was gonna go this last week, but I got sick. So
We both did. That's why we're doing this a week later.
yeah,
Uh
yeah,
Well, I look forward to everything you do, and I always get excited when I see you post stuff on Facebook and Instagram. So just, from me to you, just thank you for all you do. You seriously are an inspiration.
I appreciate it.
So anyone can go follow him at Scenescapery. That's SCENESCAPERY. I spelled there. Okay. And
You did better than
and
I would have.
and you have a calendar coming out this year, right? That people can buy?
Yeah, so it's out now. I just do it through a website and it drop ships to you. So yeah, that's on my pages. It's in my bio on Instagram and it's, on my Facebook page as well. And
Awesome.
yeah, yeah, I
Awesome.
took a whole day and just went through all my pictures, culled it down from about 100 to, the 12 that I liked. And um yeah, one more thing while I'm remembering to touch on is Comet Atlas going by right now.
Oh, that's right. So what's your plan for that?
So I've spent the last 2 nights just along the east shore taking pictures of it, and it's been pretty cool. But now I'm like, okay, I need to go to Lassen and get it coming over the mountainscapes there. So I think that's going to be my plan for tonight. We'll see, but it's definitely interesting because I was shooting Neowise back in 2020, and that one was really cool. But I didn't really know what I was doing with that, and now I have a sky tracker. So I'm trying to, line that with Polaris, and then I want to get a couple of really detailed shots. So I'm hoping that that pans out.
Nice. Yeah, it's going on now. I think it's going till October 24th, I believe is what I read, right?
Yeah, it's going to be like fading, more and more each
Right.
night and higher up in the sky. So, yeah,
So
we'll see.
tonight's your
Just
night.
yeah, just between the last 2 nights, like it was 2 nights ago, it was super bright and it set right behind the mountains. And then last night it was a little bit more dim, and then before it even got to the mountains, it faded out. So I don't know if that was because of smoke on the horizon, or if that's just what we can expect from it. But it's definitely very cool, and I would say anybody listening to this, get out and see it while you can, and look
Yeah.
directly west where the sun sets, and look up in the sky. You'll see it. You won't miss the long tail.
Yeah, yeah. I think because there's that fire going on at Shasta Lake right now. I think that sort of dimmed it a little bit. But
Yeah,
it's been such a crazy year because, like, just speaking on all this, the Perseid meteor shower, right? Like, this
yeah.
another thing that you did a magnificent job photographing was the Perseid meteor shower was supposed to peak on a night in August, and what do you know? The auroras came out on the same night. So it's just kind of been a wild year for night photography, right?
It has, yeah. And when I was, because there's that one picture, I think it was the second slide in my Aurora post for that August date. Was it August 12th? That's what it was, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember just sitting there watching, and I had my intervalometer going. So I was just taking picture after picture, and then I just see this huge green fireball just go across the whole sky. And it like went, oh man, that was amazing. And I instantly stopped my camera and I checked, and I was like, I got it. Yes. So, and it was directly right in the center of the image. It was perfect, and I've tried taking pictures of meteors before, and man, it just doesn't pan out, because you point your camera this way and they're over this way, and then and then they say 70 an hour, but that's all over the whole sky. So you might see 10 in the area you're looking. So it's really hard to plan and capture that. So when you do get something like that, it's really exciting.
That's awesome. And that's another, that's just your practice over the last, 5 to 10 years has really shown off because now you have all this experience. So every time something like this happens, you're there to get the perfect photo.
Yeah, yeah, I'm hitting the ground running, that's for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, again, like we're such big fans, and thank you for everything you do. Again, anyone that's listening to this, go follow him, Scenescapery on Facebook and Instagram, and go buy his calendar too. I just believe so much in supporting local artists and supporting local businesses. So, Jake, you're awesome, man. It was great to have you on.
You too, Zach. I'm so glad we could finally make this happen.
Me too. All right, thanks.
Take care.
Okay, thank you to Jake Edwards for that great interview. I love that guy. I've loved his photography, and it's funny we turned off the camera and him and I got into this longer conversation, which I wish that we got on recording. But
You always do that.
well, I
It becomes more like comfortable after you hit, after you stop recording, but then some of the best stuff is said after
and
that.
and this is why we're gonna have him on the podcast again. But we've grown together. Like he was coming up as a photographer, and we were coming up as a media company, and we've certainly shared hundreds of his photos on our social media pages, and I think as we've grown, he's grown, and he's gotten really, really good over the past decade at what he does. When he first started, he was good, but he wasn't what he is today, and not only that, his literally a 4-time cancer survivor at his age is just insane. And I think his perspective on life is pretty cool. So it's good to have people like him in our area, doing what he does, having the passion for what we're passionate about, like-minded
And
folks.
talent.
And
He's
talent.
talented.
He's talented. He looks at it like art, and just an overall great person. I mentioned it in the interview, but go buy his calendar, go follow him on social media, support local artists, support local businesses.
Speaking of art.
Okay, so
let's preview next week's episode.
So Bob and I are both going to be out of town next week, and we want to continue to do this weekly. So anybody who's listened to us in the past knows that when we're out of town and we can't be in the studio, we don't want to do like one of those Zoom, we might do one of these days, just if there's a lot of news, but we want to do in-studio podcasts. So we do movie reviews, and we've done a lot of old movies. What have we done? We've done The Great Outdoors. We did Smoking Aces.
I mean, we've done a top 10 of movies made in Northern California. I mean, we've talked about a lot of movies.
We did that Chris Farley movie.
Yeah.
We did, and these are all movies filmed in Northern California. So
next week's movie is going to be a little different.
And we know this because we are about to film that podcast. So we're all ready for it. We're all geared up. We just watched it. The movie, if you want to watch it before you listen to the podcast, Sasquatch Sunset. Again,
Sasquatch Sunset.
Entirely filmed in Humboldt, Northern California, starring Jesse Eisenberg and Riley Keough. It is it's following a family of Sasquatches through the Northern California redwoods.
And we'll talk about it in next week's pod, but
we're not going to say anything about it.
I will just say that Northern California kind of plays a character in the film.
It's absolutely a character. Yeah, the redwoods are absolutely a character. We're not going to say anything else about it. Just,
watch it at your own discretion, caution.
Watch it at your own risk. I think that's a really good way to put it.
There's a word that you're probably going to use many times. Graphic. That's all that we'll say.
I'll say that if you want to play a drinking game in our next podcast, every time we say the word graphic, take a drink.
Yeah. Weird probably would be on
weird
there.
And graphic. That's all we're gonna say. We don't want to give away too much. Go watch.
There are spoilers, so if you want to watch the movie before, we'll talk about our reaction. We will be doing a lot of spoilers, so if you want to prepare for next week's Sasquatch Sunset, and that's it. Thank you for listening to the Talking NorCal podcast. Remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, wherever you get them. We're also on YouTube. You can see our full YouTube clips on the Talking NorCal YouTube page. And then we clip them out and do some fun clips on the Active NorCal YouTube page. Also subscribe or follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, both Talking NorCal and Active NorCal. You'll see clips on both. We really appreciate the support. Also subscribe to the Active NorCal magazine. Use the promo code Talking NorCal to get $10 off your $30 annual subscription to the magazine of premier outdoor content in Northern California. And remember, stay active.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and Darren knows how to kick it down in Santa Cruz. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little cray-cray when we visit the East Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal.